Monster Truck Championship. We're on Xbox Series X taking a look at this now optimized release. So this is a next generation version of the game. Keep that in mind. There is an existing Xbox One version that is playable on Series X, but this is a brand new standalone release of the game. They've gone in, they've improved elements of it, native 4K resolution, 60 FPS, no HDR support. It's got improved visuals in regards to the draw distance, the kind of rendering of shadows. They've removed basically all of the pop-in that I've noticed back when I was initially reviewing this one. This one had some real visual type issues with it in terms of like the graphic pop-in on trees and stuff. That's basically all fixed here. You see one or two minor little shadows, most people wouldn't even notice them, but yeah, it's actually a really beautiful looking monster truck racing type of game. Honestly, they did some really nice adjustments to the visual style and aesthetic of the game. I would have maybe liked some more content to it, but you know, they did improve the visuals and everything like that, so I guess that's appreciated. So take the wheel of one of 16 vehicles and enter into 5 types of events. In these championships, you will compete in 25 stadiums and circuits in various cities across the United States. They're aiming for a realistic approach to driving, which honestly feels a lot better in this version of the game. I don't know if I just got better at driving around in it, but it definitely feels a little bit improved physics-wise. So 5 types of races. They've got race, time trial, drag races, freestyle, and destruction. Some of those are more like traditional races. Other ones are more like smashing things. Some of them are getting points. Some of them are like head-to-head. You can go against, like, I think like 7 AI or something like that in matches. 16 customizable vehicles with over 50 options. You can make your own vehicle. You'll see my kind of lazily thrown together custom one. Improve certain elements of the mechanics and style of your vehicle, such as like suspension, gearbox, engine. So that's kind of the campaign. Honestly, it's a little bit underwhelming. You're kind of just playing through it, and you're unlocking like gear stuff and just doing, you know, different races and that. It's nothing like really too complex. There's like a sponsor type thing in it, but yeah, they could have went a little bit further with that system of play. But if you are familiar with this game, this new release of it doesn't really change too much, so keep that in mind. But if you are looking at this for the first time, it's a solid monster truck racing game. You know, I think it gets the style of the vehicles down, the destruction of not only the objects you're going through, but also the vehicle kind of getting bashed up and stuff. The scope of it, the visual aesthetic, the, I don't know, smashing and bashing and everything like that. I think it gets it done pretty well, so if you missed this the first time, you might actually have yourself a cool monster truck racing game that looks really good on the next-gen consoles. That's totally a cool option. But if you are coming from that previous version, keep in mind that things are relatively the same here. So like I mentioned, career mode, vehicle, sponsors, technicians, improved performance and earnings. Really, you know, whatever. Then the quick play, just jump in and play matches, and they got like some kind of arena set up, and then there's also the online multiplayer, so you can compete with up to 8 players in monster-sized races. So they actually have a good variety of environments that you can go through, and tracks, and different setups. Some of them are a little bit more narrow, some are a little bit more open. They all accompany these large trucks fairly well. They give you some room to move around, but at other times you kind of get a little, you know, stuck where it's hard to kind of get by them. Not like stuck, but as in like, oh, I want to get by this competing monster truck, and it's a little bit hard to do that. But I just, you know, I gotta give them good props for actually making a very clean, visually pleasing, well, I guess I could say aesthetically pleasing next generation visual look at this game. Because they were like, you want to check it out? And I was like, you know, I've played this before, and I was like, okay, we'll see what they've done for this release. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They really did honestly clean it up quite a bit, and I'm hoping that this is going to be like their standard if they were to do any sort of like follow-up to it, or their additional racing whatever titles that they do over this generation. I hope that this is kind of at least a visual standard for it, because it's pretty clean looking. You know, from the dust to the way the tires kind of smash things up, the smoke, the vehicles, the colors, everything kind of pops. It's got a nice sort of pristine kind of look to it, while also having a little bit of a gritty one. I like the background is fairly detailed with crowd. It feels like you're actually in like immersive locations, which is kind of nice. Clean UI, decent selection of modes being present. You know, it's generally actually like a fine sort of racing title. You know, I was like, okay, this marks it up to being a solid thing. It doesn't necessarily excel, if that makes sense, to doing some wildly new things, but I think as, you know, a racing monster truck game, it's got a decent amount of content to it. It's got, you know, different modes to play, multiplayer online. It's got, you know, improved visuals. The frame rate is obviously really nice to have, you know, that improved frame rate. I don't know, I guess the big thing would have been more like new maps, you know, tracks, new content in this release. But I guess they're mostly going for just kind of improving and re-releasing it for the most part. Because there's probably not like a ton of competition on next-gen type things. At the same time, you know, we do have smart delivery, but I guess, you know, a smaller group, I imagine they're trying to just maximize what they can get out of the title. So you can't necessarily blame them in that regard. Whatever the case, I'm just trying to give you all the information you need to know in regards to understanding, you know, this release of the game, this optimized version. So be careful when you're in the store and make sure you're picking, you know, this next gen upgraded version of the game to get the true, you know, kind of vision of what they're going for with this title. And I mean, it's got some cool little silly moves you can do, like pull off and freestyle and that. And like I said, the first time around, it was really kind of awkward and stuff like that, and it just felt a little bit better handling-wise in this one, and how you coordinate your wheels to pull off tricks and stuff. I didn't have as much kind of issues going around, because it has been quite a while since I initially covered the first release. So it's cool to see this, like, you know, boost and change of it, because I can legitimately see an adjustment to what this game has to offer visually. And performance-wise, obviously, the fluidity feels way better. So I'm glad they were able to achieve that. I hope you kind of enjoyed this look at Monster Truck Championship, got an idea of everything running. And I'll just leave some gameplay afterwards so you can see it in action if you want to just watch more of it. Ooh, lovely. Sick backflip.
Save there. He's wrecking everything. Great wheelie across the track. We're already halfway through. Seems like we have a new leader. One of the best runs so far. Another high jump. Look at this bicycle. Pulls off a front flip. Can't believe it. Did you see that thing? From the sound of the engine, you can tell it's definitely damaged.